Hallo, willkommen zum Backend Stream.
Hallo mal.
Heute.
Hello again.
Oh, sorry, yes, in English. You see, I don't do this every second Friday, so I already forgot. Yeah, in English, totally right. So today with Andreas as usual, and with me this time, jumping in for Timo. He didn't have time today. And we will try to, at the backend side of the sign with Apple part that we started in the client last time in the app, and see how that is done in Quarkus. So I guess let's jump in directly.
Yep.
Yay.
Okay. So the people that were with us for a long time, they might remember that we once started to add movie lists.
Yes.
So basically your favorites, and that you can also create custom lists and so on. And we did this before some other client requests had higher priority, and we had to give them give me the most popular movies and so on lists. So we get back to this now, and if you remember, we had to provide somehow the user, because we want to store the list of a user.
And we cheated by giving it in as a...
Yeah, exactly. We basically cheated for now to get something working, and work on it step by step, and we just provided a user basically. So let's have a look how this looks in Postman. 1 second. Has it started? No. Quarkus is still starting.
I'm in the way.
Oh no. I didn't even start. Oh, it seems Cradle deleted the cache for this Quarkus version already. So let's see. Give it a couple of seconds.
So it just means it takes longer, right, to start?
Yeah, it just took a bit longer because it downloaded the Quarkus and had to compile everything, and but still it's not so bad. So we have started. So if you remember, we had this movies list, and this list is called favorites. It could also be called like my favorites. And you were able to get them, but at the moment, yeah, the parameters null.
User. Yeah.
The user. So what we did did provide the user like Andreas. So now you have the my favorites for Andreas, and if you want to add one, you can also add one to my favorites. We add movie with this idea, and when we get it again, we now get this movie ID and the whole details for the client. So same applies for removing, but obviously this is not really secure. Obviously Jonas could send just the same request, and there's no way that we can distinguish between Jonas and me, and any other user. So anyone could manipulate any user's list. So we don't want that. How do we get to a better user ID? We can ask Apple. And as Jonas said, in the client they already started adding the sign in with Apple. And with that we get a token from Apple. Yeah, and we can do OIDC with that. If we have a look, such a token is basically just encoded, very long encoded string. I put it in here in JWT.io, and on the right side you can see the decoded token.
The coden.
Yeah. What can we see here? This JWT is, for those who don't know, is a JSON web token. So it's basically just a JSON. With these different payloads. So you have a header that defines come on, which algorithm is used for signing, and you have a payload, and then you have a signature. And Apple, in our case, has signed this with their private key. We don't know the private key. And with that, it is ensured we can later check with their public key, which is publicly available, that this is really an Apple token.
Yeah.
And here you can see some details about this token. So the issuer is appleid.apple.com, which is their identity provider. Then we have the audience, which is basically for which app this token was created.
The bundle identifier in this case of the iOS app.
Exactly. So with that, we can know this is a token for the movie app and not for a random app that somebody made. It comes to our service and wants some stuff for it. Also, we have an expiration date and issued at.
Yeah, but
yeah. So it was issued like at a bit past 1 today, and it is valid for 24 hours until tomorrow. The subject is actually the user ID. So this is the one we will be using to identify the user. Then we have some hash, okay. We also have an email, and here you can see some Apple specialty with the privacy relay, where I don't see now the tokens from Jonas, but we don't see the real email address from Jonas, but the private relay email address.
And as a comment, we altered that email a bit, so
yeah, that you cannot spam Jonas.
Yeah,
that's also
but
why
it looks similar to what is there.
Yeah, it looks similar to what is there. Also, we get email verified, which is a flag that usually is used to say that the email is verified. In case of Apple, this is probably always true because you cannot have an
That's a benefit if you want verified emails. If you sign with Apple, you're guaranteed to always have a verified email.
Exactly.
And without, you would have to do this dance with, okay, we sent you an email, please click the link, and then
yeah, you have to implement this on your own, or use Keycloak or so and configure it that it's doing that for you.
Yeah, Moritz said in chat that this email will only be usable from a certain source. Yes, that's true. I'm not sure if it's configured that way already, but you have to set up like a domain and stuff. But we didn't do this, so maybe the actual private relay email wouldn't even be usable.
Okay.
Because it didn't set up anything.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. That's
actually an issue that I know from my project. If you create your account with such an email and then want to use that email in a third-party system to send you like tracking information or something else, this directly does not work, and you have to specify all the domains that are allowed to send. But if you have a lot of different third-party services that want to do that, but it's not so easy to do. You have like a limited list, a limited amount.
Okay. And if you don't configure it, then it's not usable at all, or by everybody?
Not at all.
Okay. So probably we would not even have needed to change it.
Yeah, maybe. So there's this key stuff. Don't know if it's also related to that. Maybe you will come to that later. That I generated earlier today for you.
Yeah.
Maybe if you have that, then you can also send. I don't know.
Okay, I think that's part of a future episode because we need to look at that more, and I don't think we need it for today's.
Yeah, stuff. I mean, for now, for our case, we can say, okay, we just use not the private relay feature and just a normal email address.
Yeah. Yeah, here's also a flag that tells us this is a private relay email. Authentication time even once more, and yeah, whatever. So it depends a bit on your authentication provider, what's in here. So JWT is a standard mechanism. And for example, if you have your own Keycloak or some other authentication provider, Azure or so, then you can also add more stuff in there or have more stuff in there, maybe even roles of the user. And then you could use the token and the roles you extract from it to enable certain features. So for an admin or someone with an admin role, you can give him more access to just a standard user having another role. Yes, so what we can do to use this token is now the question. And basically for Quarkus, there's Quarkus OIDC. This is for the interested reader, a ton of documentation about it. There's really everything you need to know in there. How you can set up an example project, how you can do it with Keycloak, with your own Keycloak server, and so on and so forth.
Is this something we also might show in the future with Keycloak and how to set this up?
Yeah, I mean, we might do that. Yeah, I mean, could be interesting.
Yeah.
It's not too hard to set up Keycloak, and then you can create your own users and so on. Yeah, so maybe something for a future episode. For the interested reader, I would really recommend to read through this. Usually Quarkus documentation, it's really good. You might skip most of these configuration properties. One thing to note here, so there's some Keycloak specialties which they added to support Keycloak directly and with more features. Then there's the standard Quarkus OIDC, and then the properties. Most of them you never need, like connection timeout. Default is 10 seconds, so usually this works out well. Also max pool size, so you don't need that. But you can also have multiple authentication providers. So I can have like Apple, I can have my Keycloak, Google, and whatsoever. And in that case, I can scroll down here to where the tenant stuff comes in. So in that case, you can add all the configs you read above just with the tenant thing. And then you have like the Apple tenant of server URL, so it knows to which server it should go and token path and so on. So you can also do this with multiple providers. But what we are interested in is actually doing this with Apple. And for this, we search for this, and then we find here a list of pre-configured OIDC providers where Quarkus, they basically set it all up, the URL and stuff. So you can click here and you get a detailed picture by picture explanation what you have to configure in your Apple developer console. Can go through here. It's like 10,000 pictures to set it all up. Oh, Meta, no. So important part for us is this. So we have the provider, Apple, and with that, they configure the URL and stuff. So let's get all of it first. We just need to add this to the application properties.
Do you have to install any additional dependencies?
Yeah. Yes, you're right. So so we just add one more, and it's basically Quarkus OIDC. As simple as that, and that they have the pre-configured Apple thing is pretty new. So we go to the newest version, and now to this config, the bundle ID, we already, awesome.
You just have to restart or so. No?
Yeah, I might have to restart. Can you maybe switch away?
Sure.
Some strange Gradle issue. I had this before. No idea why this is now happening. So we will be right back. Any
Do we
questions
still
so
have
far?
the technical difficulties? Pause screen. I don't
We
think
need
so.
some elevator music.
Yeah. Yeah. Just for fun, we need the technical difficulties overlay.
Yeah. So it's already started.
Let me know when I can go back.
Yeah, I will try to sing first, just to make sure it's working now. Come on.
Da, 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 da.
Awesome.
Still broken?
Yeah, still broken.
Maybe because the configuration has the placeholders in as well.
No, it's a Gradle issue actually. So even before it gets to start Quarkus or
Yeah.
compile anything, it crashes when downloading already.
Wrong version.
Yeah, maybe. Or it was a feature of the latest Quarkus version.
Crashes at start. Yeah, maybe I can use the time to let you know that right now or after the stream, I'm not about 100% sure about the timing. The YouTube stream replay will be live from last time. So if you're interested in that, you can check it out.
So we are up to date with this
Yep.
uploads now.
Yeah, every time the last one will go live. Modes, if you want, you can share the YouTube link in chat. Perfect. Thank you. Still not fixed. What else can I tell?
Maybe.
You're way closer to the camera than I am, so you have a huge head and I have no, just continue. I will adopt.
Why?
We need the technical difficulties.
So, some user questions, please.
Yeah.
I have to talk something about.
Yeah, Maud also shared the link to the GitHub repository where we always upload the changes we made in the stream. That reminds me, I think it's possible that I forgot to do this for the last iOS stream. So maybe there's not the latest version. I will check after the stream. Yeah, no.
Maybe.
Maybe restart your machine.
No. No. I think I found it. Yeah, I'm just trying finally, but
What was the issue?
I think the Gradle version actually. It compiles again, so the times when a simple Windows restart fixed everything, and you had to do it 5 times a day, those are over. Okay.
Sometimes now the tapes on macOS.
Yeah. You finally copied the most important feature from Windows. I think you can get back, then I can explain what I did. So in the end, I went to the Gradle wrapper here, and we had Gradle 3.3. And no idea why, but the newest version 4.2. With that one, it works. And also one thing I noticed, we still had Kotlin 1.6.10, but the newest Quarkus supports 1.6.21. So I also updated that. And with that, I hope we got
Everything
everything.
good. Okay.
Awesome.
Now back to the bundle ID.
Yes, bundle ID. We saw that in the token already.
Yeah.
Where's the token?
Is it a pain to update dependencies in Kotlin? Or what said that?
No, that was all I had to do.
No, not here, but somewhere else. He said
um,
it was always a pain to update.
no, that's the great thing about Quarkus, that it manages the dependencies of all the frameworks it supports. And you see here, all of these dependencies, reactive, Hibernate, and OIDC, I don't have versions here. And that is because they are enforced by the platform, by Quarkus. And so when I update to any version here, they have created this bundle of versions, and they have tested them together.
Yeah.
And so you can be pretty sure that everything works together. Yeah, that's a really nice feature, especially in enterprise projects. Especially with Node.js projects, you tend to see a lot of different dependencies. Every single one has a different version, and also different peer dependency versions, and you get into a lot of trouble to update that. And yeah, so that's really great that you can have one flag to update basically all of it. Yes. Yes, we were here. So the key file and the token key ID we don't need at the moment. We need the issuer. The issuer was Apple. This is basically to validate that we actually have a token from Apple and not just any token, because I could create you a token right now. But
couldn't it infer that if you specify the provider as Apple?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe that different Apple.
Maybe that's the root cause. Yeah, you're right. But you would expect it to know what it is, but maybe there are different ones. And the subject.
The bundle ID again. No.
Yeah.
But the user? That doesn't make sense.
No. Bundle ID. Yeah.
Yeah, it has it there, but
yeah. So what we can do, instead of we can use it here again.
Yeah.
Instead of that, we can also create a variable here. We can say like the movie time bundle ID is this. And we can then just use it here.
Just using the Quarkus OIDC client ID there again would be bad practice.
You could also do that, but yeah, I would rather give it the name what it is.
Yeah,
because yeah, you want to put in the bundle ID here, and now I have the bundle ID as a real name. Okay. Was there anything else we need to do? Configure this, add the dependency. Yeah, use it probably. So we can go to our movies resource and simply, for start, inject the token. We can JSON web token. You see this is from the Eclipse microprofile. Yeah. Eclipse microprofile is standardization group, the whole microprofile thing, where they create standards for a lot of things like Kafka connections and so on. So they also put it in there to have these common interfaces, which can be used in many different implementations, not just in Quarkus. And now let's, for example, go to the get movie list and make it really simple. Subject.
Yeah. And the token you get by specifying the auth header, or?
Yes, so let's start with service. And let's open Postman. So at the moment we still need this because I didn't change the endpoint. But what we need to do to pass the token is we need to provide the bearer token. And what this does is it creates basically authorization header, then bearer, and then the token. This is not a complete token. Yeah, you have to send this with every request. So when we do this, nothing happens here, but subject is now. Unexpected.
So you would have expected that the
I hope for the token. The
ID.
For the ID, yes.
The token is correct that you put in.
Yeah, I guess I got the token. No, maybe I not even get token object. Let me spiegeln.
Peek
On my previous thing where I did this.
Your
and
preparation.
It worked. Yeah, my preparation.
That you need, okay. If you don't put that.
Not sure. This should not be needed, I would think. But
where did you add the token again in this file?
In this file?
Yeah.
I added it to be injected.
Okay.
Yes. So we do send it. Not found. Not found.
Yes.
Why not found?
Is the database reset?
Okay. I forgot one config.
Ah.
So when we go here, OIDC allows for different flows. I can show you that. What? So much for showing it. Yeah.
There it is.
So there's different types of different application types or modes basically in which you can run this OIDC stuff. And there's a web app and service and hybrid. And for web app, this is interesting for web apps. Who would have guessed? And in that case, when you're not authenticated, Quarkus sends you a redirection. And it did send a redirection here to Apple to ask you to authorize. So basically, this would redirect to the web view where you can sign in. And that's interesting for a website because when you want to make a call, you are not authorized yet, then they redirect you to Apple. You can do the authorization there, and then you get redirected back. Yeah. So that's why this is happening. For us, this is not interesting.
But that means the token was not valid, right?
Yeah, that means something was wrong with that. Yeah, maybe. I guess.
We will see. Okay. So what other modes are there?
There's also this hybrid, which supports basically both, that you send the token directly or that you get redirected when you don't have it. And then there's service, which we are, because when someone comes to us with an invalid token, we don't want the redirect, we want actually, so the token was valid.
Yeah.
If I add a wrong token here, we want a 401
Yeah.
unauthorized. Yeah. So that's what we need, this mode. And if we send a valid token, we get a 200, okay.
And the subject ID is also
printed here. Yes. So we get this JSON web token here injected, and we can access the subject, and it will be the one of this request.
Do you need the authenticator now or not?
No. I wouldn't need it.
That would just mean, yeah, so if you pass the invalid token, it would still let you through, right?
Yes. So then I get none.
Yeah. And if you pass in an invalid token, so you
that
provide
would
the
be
auth header,
rejected.
but
That is rejected. Yeah.
okay. So if no header is provided, fine. But if a wrong token is provided,
You could use this one endpoint where you don't need a user, but for maybe if you the search movies
yeah,
list, we could. I mean, you can use it without being signed in, but if you're signed in, maybe we want to add a field saying, okay, you have this in your in your favorites list,
yeah,
and then we can use it dynamically.
yeah,
Either it's there or it's not there.
yeah. And you would want to know if you are signed in with the outdated token that it expired. So that's why you would still get the
Exactly.
forward. Yeah. Okay.
So now let's use it.
Yeah.
So one way to do it is by directly now using this. One additional thing for the get movie list, add to movie list and delete from movie list, we always need a user.
Yeah. And
so
you added back the authenticated annotation. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We always need this, and if you now do not provide a token, Quarkus will cry. No, it will just say
The same,
unauthorized all the time. Exactly.
Because you reordered the annotations, is there best practice how to order them, or is it just your personal?
It's a bit personal. So path is usually longer than authenticated and produces.
You order them by length, okay.
Yeah, now it's like a nice pyramid.
yeah, I see.
It
can understand.
It pleases my eye.
Can relate to that. Yes.
But usually this is the order I go for. I put the produces and consumes on the method, but we always have JSON here, so we could just put it up there.
Okay.
And also consumes, we would also always consume JSON, and then we can remove this.
And would it make sense to have the list part in a separate file so that you could make the whole file authenticated, or is it fine to
yeah, you could do that, and you could even argue for that because it's a different use case, manipulating the list. So movie list resource. So get rid of this too. Yeah, okay. And in here we get rid of these three. This is needed.
Yeah, that's where to put that now. It's needed in both. But then it cannot be private anymore, right? Or is it?
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. And in here, remove them. In here also. Okay.
Now you can move the authenticated up.
Maybe list users. Yes.
This.
Now we can. Yeah.
I know it needs to be one above, but then the path is not on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think the path on top is better, right? Oh, maybe not.
It's just more nice. No, in general, I would say agree on one order, but also it's not that
Doesn't
critical.
really matter. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see that this is all still working. We also have this lists prefix here.
Yeah. Ah, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Much more readable. So I would have thought that the slash also should go up, but maybe it's also because it looks like a root path and not like a relative. But maybe it's also
Yeah.
I have no
Actually, you can just leave it out.
even better.
I tend to leave it in
Yeah.
because it somehow feels right to me, but
Yeah, it's personal.
you can
preference.
remove it.
Okay.
Then Quarkus will just add it. I changed something again, so he was recompiling. So no favorite, add the favorite, get them again.
Yeah, works.
Move.
The user is missing.
The user is missing. Okay.
But
So-
we want to get rid of this anyway.
Yeah, so let's get rid of it. So we can now use here the JWT and directly use the subject here. But actually, you might not want to always use this here and better use the user ID wherever you need it. But you also don't want the JSON Web Token, which is a REST thingy, to be all over your code.
Yeah.
So we could define like an
User.
authenticated user, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And make it like user ID. Okay. And then we can here.
Is it a normal class? Wasn't there this other type? Or
Yeah, let's do the data class
I don't know.
first, and I can. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Usually, I would also like to do it as a data class, but we will get to some caveat later.
call by value and call by reference?
No. Call by proxy. So we need to produce this. So we want to get this or have this available within CDI, or context dependency injection.
When the token is there.
Yeah, when the token is there. So we need to create a factory that creates this class from the token. So very creative name.
Oh.
And here we just create a function, produce user. It takes the JWT token and returns an authenticated user.
Mm-hmm.
So now in here we can just create a return authenticated user with the subject.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have one thing is missing. We need to say that this is actually a producer. So normally in JEE you would annotate it with @producers, and then you need to say in which scope should the produce be in live. And we want it to be request scope because it's not like something that is application wide, because it's only depending on this request.
Yeah.
And therefore we make it request scoped. So we can now, and in Quarkus you don't need to add producers because when you have such a method, he knows, okay, this is a producer method, so we can get rid of this. Just a convenience thing.
Do we have to it named produce to
No.
just the request scope? Then it's
If you request scoped or application scoped or dependent,
then it's
these
already
are the ones you can use, and then it knows already.
And then it automatically, when this token is available, calls it?
No, when you use this, then it calls it.
Yeah.
So let's actually even a bit later. So where do you want to use it? It's this resource. Yeah. So we don't need this here anymore. And we don't provide the user here. But in here, so there's down there's database and stuff. So these don't have to handle where the user comes from, but in this service we can handle that. So we can inject this authenticated user. And in this movie list service we always need it, but it does not have to be there for this injection to work. Because this class here, it's application scoped. So this is only created once.
Yeah.
And this is the constructor where we put in this authenticated user. So this can also only be passed in once when the application starts.
Not correct then.
This is correct. It's still correct. That's the funny thing. So what is injected here is not an actual object of authenticated user. Quarkus is generating a proxy class that fulfills this type. Basically, it extends the type with a proxy. And whenever you call, let's do it. Here's the user ID. I can now do this. When I call this here, this calls actually a proxy because only the proxy has been injected. And the proxy knows, oh, I'm request scoped. So my inner object only lives in the request and not in the whole application scoped. So when you first access this user ID, then it will call this producer to create this object, and then will access the data. And until you do not access the data from in there somewhere, it will not even call this producer.
Magic. Yeah, I mean, this makes sense, but if you then read it, you have to know, or maybe you don't need to know in this case. You don't care in the service. You just need the user and you use it. Where it comes from doesn't matter.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Yeah.
In this service doesn't care where it comes from. It just needs an authenticated user. Maybe I have also a different API, a gRPC API or some SOAP API, or I get data from somewhere else that you request. They might have completely different mechanisms. And in the REST endpoint scenario, then I produce it this way.
And what would happen if it is not there?
That's an interesting question. What will happen if it's not there? So at the moment, we have made this authenticated. So it will always be there when we come through these endpoints.
Yeah.
But you might also use this object somewhere else. So
exactly.
We can try this. We don't need the user anymore. Let's first test.
Priority.
show you IDs for list.
I think you need to refactor more.
Yeah, probably. Let's first
In the list. And the service.
Yeah, service, right. Let's get rid of all these user
Yeah.
IDs here. And reasons. No. Okay, so we give it a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
So, not started yet? No. Eh?
I guess because you removed the hours. Oh,
No,
but
no,
it's
no.
still specified.
We provided. We have sent a token.
Yeah.
And let me clean. Because we provided the token, so, and our producer it should not be possible to put something that is null in here.
It's not related because I asked you to make it a data class. Because you said.
Oh, yeah, it is. Actually, yeah. So when you start Quarkus and you do this, you see warnings.
Mm-hmm.
And better you listen to these warnings.
Did I? Maybe you can move it a bit up so it's better readable.
Yeah. So in the starter, in the very beginning, there are
You moved
some.
it down again.
What?
That's like this. Keep it like this.
Yeah. There are some warnings, and especially this one is very important for us at the moment. The final method, get user ID, is ignored during proxy generation and should never be invoked upon the proxy instance.
But we do that.
Yeah, but we do that. So the problem is, if you have a data class or classes in general in Kotlin, they are final.
Mm-hmm.
You need to make them open.
So that it can create the proxy.
Yes,
Proxy.
otherwise it cannot extend the text size.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that.
Yes, it was also for the warning in the console, but I guess in general it's not bad.
Generally data font size. So if you want to see it again, we have here the warnings. And that also there's component one. This is something that comes from the data class.
Mm-hmm.
It's generated so you can destructure the data class. And if you have more than one field, you have also component 2, 3, 4, and so on. The copy method is also generated by the data class, so you can create a copy of it. So
and data class is always final and cannot be.
All classes actually are always final. If we also...
No, yeah, but I mean you cannot have an open data class.
Yes. Something like that is not allowed. So that's why we need to get rid of this. And you would also need to write open here, because fields are also always final. So Kotlin is very closed when it comes to that. So with this, it should now work. Fingers crossed. Or maybe let's check the console output directly. So now it's not generating the component one method and also not the copy. And our field is open and we see no warnings there. This is a warning from test containers, and this is, oh, our user movie list entity has the same issue. So, quick detour. User movie list entity has the same problem. It also needs to have a proxy.
This was the database.
This is the database object that we actually store. So we have here the ID of the entry, we have the user ID, the name of the list, and the movie we want to add to this list. This was our basic model. So we could now again write here open, 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 but you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So there's a trick. There's the all open plugin for Kotlin. It does what the name says. This is here already configured. You always get this when you use Quarkus, because the application scoped stuff also needs to have this.
Yeah.
And you could also say the request scoped.
Yeah.
We don't have any request scope beans that we directly annotate at the moment. We only have this producer.
Yeah.
But it does not then apply to the result. So what we can do for the entity, we have this add entity always. So we need to tell them, hey, for the JavaX persistence entity, you can apply this. And we can now also make our lives a bit easier and create our own annotation. This is just an annotation. It's just as a marker. And we can add it. Add all open. It doesn't. The name doesn't matter. I just use the name because it's speaking. You can remove that. And then we need to this one here. We also need to add it here. All open. Then we sync again.
And you can only put annotations there, or also.
No,
like,
there's also, you could directly add a
directly.
path to a class, or maybe even a package or so. But usually it depends on annotations, because the annotations often are used to define what type it is.
Yeah.
So did I restart? So it always is important to, from time to time, have a look at your console output, especially for the startup, because Quarkus actually tells useful
And
stuff.
especially the warnings.
Yeah, especially the warnings. So this one is from the testing Docker container stuff. Okay. No idea where this constraint is at the moment, not in the database, but we don't want to do the database today.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Let's try it again.
Yeah, let's try it again. You're right.
Yes. Perfect.
And now we can add the movie to the list. We can also get rid of this. We have now added the movie. We can get the movie again. Yes. And we can also have a look into the database.
Now the user ID should be this long number.
Yes. What?
Have you called the delete endpoint already, maybe? No. No.
Is this the wrong database? Oh yeah. Because we added this prod stuff here. It's actually using the test container database, which is generated on each start and so on. So let's remove that.
Now I remember what we also thought we would need before the next client's stream. Wasn't it that to be able to use that, we need HTTPS, or was it something else?
I think for what we do at the moment, we don't need,
Okay.
because we only pass over so we actually do not really talk with Apple.
Yeah.
Only at the start, we will grab their public certificate and use it to validate the tokens. But that's all. So for that, we don't need it. Did I restart Quarkus?
I don't know. But I mean, it's somewhere.
It's somewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I have nothing in there. Okay, yeah, there should be nothing in there. As soon as you do it right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this authenticated user object. We have it all open now. So the proxy can be generated and we can use it. So that's awesome. But we wanted to try what happens if you don't provide the token.
This will not work because we... no, you... okay. Must not be null.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not the best response for the client, but...
Yeah. And it actually happens because we... in our producer... Here, we access the subject, and the subject is set to be a string and not an optional. So it complains.
Yeah.
What we can do instead, so at the moment we always need the ID, but we also, before we talked about this use case when you search and you want to enhance the search results with your lists of favorites where you have the stuff in there, then you would want it to be optional also.
Yeah.
So what we could do is we could make it optional here. But maybe let's call it user ID or null.
Do you really do that? I don't know. So on Swift, I wouldn't do it because the type shows.
Yes, but the thing is, I also want to have this type. So sometimes I want to just get it not null, not optional. For example, in our movie list repository service, I never want it to be null. And when it's null, I want an exception to be thrown. And I can, with Kotlin, I can create this computed property.
Yeah.
This is basically just a getter. And here I can say, okay, if it's null, then throw unauthorized exception. Token is not user. No token. Okay. So this user ID or null, yeah, it says it could be private because I'm not using it anywhere at the moment. But in our movie list, I can now use no, not movie list, in our service.
Yeah. So right now you wouldn't really need it outside of it because we just need it there.
Yeah. But now, even if I would forget to add this authenticated here, because I try to use the token because I need it, then I would get this unauthorized. You don't get the message here because we don't have a mapper for it yet. You remember, we have some exception mappers. And Wait a sec.
Null pointer.
Yeah, I think this was from before still. I hope, at least.
Mhm.
I mean, it was no 500, so it should not be a null pointer.
Yeah, most likely it was from before.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we get this, but we can add the exception. Yeah. This is no web application exception, right? Yeah. That's Quarkus security. We can do. What was it called? Here. Authorized. And then we also give back our
Yeah.
our error body, which we always wanted to give back.
And now
This.
it works.
Yeah.
We decided against putting the code also again in the JSON because we have it already in the response.
Yeah, we only have this for one at the moment. You could also make some more custom codes.
Right.
Okay. But for this endpoint, as we know, we will always have this. We put it here, and then. What?
I see that we have my emote was somehow changed.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Andreas too? Or this is Andreas? It's the same. Also altered. You have sunglasses now.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to.
Sad that we cannot really show it in the video, so that the YouTube replay also could. If someone watching there also would see it, but then just join our live streams and you can use our awesome emotes.
Yeah.
With our faces.
So let's maybe add a couple more movies.
You need the
token. The token. 1 favorite, 2 favorite, 3 favorite.
If you put in the authorized or authenticator how it was annotation again, then we wouldn't even get to this exception we just added, right?
Yes. So
stop
I did already, and then we get this.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is the standard
unauthorized
error. Yeah. Exactly. And but now you could also in this service here where we have the authenticated user, you can now also say like authentication user ID or null, and use that when you don't, or when you do not need it, and maybe if you have it, do something with it. Maybe in the movies resource.
Pay. So if we would want to have a property, give it on a list or whatever, giving you the IDs of the lists if you have that movie in a list.
Yeah.
The other way around, basically.
Yeah.
Then you would need that.
So just for demonstration, I can now do user ID or null.
Yeah.
Here, and.
But wouldn't it be better if the authenticated user would be optional and not the ID?
Yeah, the problem is you cannot do that because this thing here is injected on start. Because
Yeah,
this is
we
the
had
constructor
talked about
injection. And you will always have this proxy. And sometimes there's now the proxy gives you a null value and sometimes not.
Yeah,
That's
that
what-
I got, but maybe like a magic annotation or so on the function that adds this as a parameter there, and or just a parameter to that
Yeah,
function that is then injected instead of.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not directly possible. But I mean, when you would pass it on here from here on now,
Yeah.
then it would be there or null. Then you.
Yeah, but I'm thinking that if there are more attributes in that,
Yeah.
then you would have to check all of them also, and just could have, if user is there, then
Yeah.
do all this, and if not,
I mean, what you could do is add something like on the user. Block. And then you could with for now we only have user ID, but
I think with
string unit
what is unit?
is basically void.
Okay.
And then in here you could do if user ID null is not null, then call the block with this user ID. Yeah, it doesn't matter because he knows it's not null, the compiler. And then you could do that. You could also make it a bit more generic, so you can define what you want to return. But probably in this case, returning makes not so much sense. But you could say with user ID or null. And if I want to run some fancy code here, for user ID, I can now make the print line.
Could you do? You don't have access to the
Sure.
to the proxy, so to check if there's actually user. That you don't have to check all the attributes, because maybe you have some that are there or not, but you want to know if there's a user or not. Like
there is ways to do this with the instance. So what you could do, you could inject instead of the authenticated user, you could inject an instance of authenticated user, and this instance gives you more access to the injection. So if there's multiple, probably if it's unsatisfied, so if it's currently not possible to get it, and you can also get multiple. So you could define here also add an annotation that specifies exactly what you need. And then you could also have multiple and iterate over all of them. You can also add some more selections here to specify it closer. And with that, you could
achieve that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So this gives you full-blown programmatic access to the CDI stuff.
Yeah.
But usually you don't need it for that case. So one example what we did once with that. So we had a Kafka topic, so basically a message queue that where messages can come in, and then there can be different types of messages. And depending on the type, you need to apply a different processing. And in that case, we use the type to then select one of the handlers that we injected. And with that, you can then directly choose the right handler, inject it, and just apply it. And don't have to do ifs and so on. And if you want to extend the code, you just add another handler and you're done.
Yeah. Cool.
That's that. So that with CDI, there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do. It's already fun when you just use the standard injection stuff and it just works
Yeah,
with this proxy
magic.
thing. But if you go really hardcore with it, you can do a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think
That's it, right?
that's it.
Let me switch to that.
Any questions left in the chat?
Let's wait a bit. They have a question. Besides that YouTube video I already mentioned. If you want to see what we did last time. Next week, I think it will be only the iOS stream on Friday.
Okay.
Tommy's not there, so we will skip the game development stream. Yeah, I think that's it. No questions as far as I see. I already see the answer to the stream when the next stream is Friday, so the delay is not that big. I think no further questions. Then I would say
see you in probably only in 4 weeks.
Yeah, we need to mention that.
Yeah.
The backend streams also will have like a pause.
Yeah. I also get some vacations. I guess it's yeah, I'm unused to it as well. So I won't be in the next stream in 2 weeks, but then 2 weeks after again.
Exactly. All right, then have a nice weekend.
Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Bye, guys.